Welcome to Zenith Global News, your trusted window to the world. From across the world, these are today's top stories. Italian PM condemns ally Trump over unacceptable Pope criticism. Lice Doucette, under fragile ceasefire, Iranians wonder if U.S. deal can be done. Hopes grow for a breakthrough in U.S.-Iran talks as Pakistan mediates. She hails China-Russia ties, signals bigger role in Iran war. Iran won't leave Hormuz until rights fully secured, Khamenei's advisor. Zelensky pursues more arms deals with allies to defend against Russia. Trump slams Italian PM Meloni over lack of support for war with Iran. How is India managing LPG supply amid the West Asia crisis? Now, let's dive into the details of today's biggest stories.
Italian PM condemns ally Trump over unacceptable Pope criticism. Donald Trump's remarks about Pope Leo XIV were unacceptable, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has said. The U.S. president accused the pontiff of being weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy in a long Truth Social post, later telling reporters he was not a big fan. The Pope is the head of the Catholic Church, and it is right and normal for him to call for peace and to condemn every form of war, Meloni said in a statement. Meloni, who is a Catholic and heads a right-wing coalition government, is a close ally of Trump and had so far been reluctant to condemn the U.S. president's harsh criticism of Pope Leo. Italian opposition parties have criticized Meloni for failing to speak out promptly. Her coalition partner, Matteo Salvini, the leader of the Populist League Party, said that attacking the Pope doesn't seem like a useful or intelligent thing to do. Single quote. After Trump's remarks, the Pope told reporters en route to Algeria that he did not want to get into a debate with Trump but would continue to promote peace. Pope Leo has said he has no fear of the Trump administration and will continue to speak out against war after the U.S. president launched an unusual and scathing attack over his stance on the Iran conflict. He has been a staunch critic of the Iran war, calling Trump's threat to destroy Iranian civilization unacceptable and calling for him to find an off-ramp to end the conflict.
Lies Doucette, under fragile ceasefire, Iranians wonder if U.S. deal can be done. High-stakes diplomatic efforts by Pakistan to mediate between the United States and Iran in April 2026. The report focuses on the aftermath of a historic, yet inconclusive, 21-hour marathon of direct talks held in Islamabad on April 11 to 12, 2026. This was the first time the two adversaries had engaged in direct face-to-face negotiations in nearly 50 years, following the outbreak of the 2026 Iran war earlier in February. Pakistan's leadership, including Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir, is pushing to turn the one-off meeting into a sustained diplomatic track known as the Islamabad process. The primary goal is to extend the current two-week ceasefire, which is set to expire around April 21 to 22, 2026. Mediators are proposing a 45-day extension to prevent a return to all-out war. Despite the breakthrough of direct dialogue, the first round ended without a deal. Major points of contention include Iran's nuclear program, the status of the Strait of Hormuz, and whether the ceasefire covers the conflict in Lebanon. President Donald Trump has expressed openness to returning to Islamabad, praising Field Marshal Munir as a fantastic mediator. Sources suggest a second round of talks could happen as early as this week, though the U.S. has signaled red lines regarding Iranian concessions. Pakistan's role. The article highlights Pakistan's unique position as a mediator that maintains warm ties with both the Trump administration and Tehran, acting as a crucial shuttle for proposals between the two rooms.
Hopes grow for a breakthrough in U.S.-Iran talks as Pakistan mediates. April 16, 2026, details a high-stakes diplomatic shuttle diplomacy effort led by Pakistan to end the 2026 U.S.-Iran war. Following a stalemate in previous direct talks, Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif are leading a multi-pronged push to bridge the gap between Washington and Tehran.
The central focus is a major breakthrough regarding Iran's nuclear program. Mediators are proposing a middle ground solution to the enrichment freeze and a plan to handle Iran's 440 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, potentially by shipping it to a neutral third party. Army Chief Asim Munir is currently in Tehran, delivering a direct message from the U.S. to the Iranian leadership. Simultaneously, PM Shehbaz Sharif is touring Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey to neutralize regional detractors, specifically Israel, who may oppose a peace deal. While the April 8 ceasefire has mostly held in Iran and the Gulf, tensions remain high due to a U.S. Iran has threatened to retaliate by blocking the Red Sea if the U.S. does not lift these maritime restrictions. President Trump has signaled extreme optimism, stating the war is very close to over and teasing an amazing 2 days ahead. Xi hails China-Russia ties, signals bigger role in Iran war. Chinese President Xi Jinping brought up the significance of the friendship treaty between Beijing and Moscow on Wednesday in a meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Xi described relations with Russia as particularly precious, calling for deeper cooperation and mutual support. He said both countries should strengthen coordination and defend shared interests, Chinese state media reported. The Russian foreign minister offered China Russia's help in boosting energy supplies to offset disruptions caused by the Iran war, including constraints on shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Russia can, of course, make up for the resource shortfall facing both China and other countries that are interested in working with us on an equal and mutually beneficial basis, Lavrov told a news conference in China. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to visit China soon. Amid the chaos in the Middle East following the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, China has projected itself as a stabilizing force and potential mediator in the conflict. Experts say Gulf countries are hoping for China to help rein Iran's attacks on its neighbors and bring Tehran to the negotiation table. China has got leverage and influence over Iran. And there are some hopes and expectations that China can use this influence in a more direct way, Dylan Lowe, associate professor at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University, told the French AFP news agency. Iran won't leave Hormuz until rights fully secured, Khamenei's advisor. Iran will not leave the Strait of Hormuz until its rights are fully secured. Based on past negotiations, agreements must be drafted more carefully, with a stronger focus on economic issues. Unlike the U.S., which fears prolonged war, Iran is fully prepared and experienced in long-term war. Why do U.S. vessels and forces avoid crossing the Strait of Hormuz if Iran's navy has supposedly been destroyed? Unlike previous talks where the other side set the terms, Iran is now setting the preconditions, Rizai said, as quoted by Press TV. The Strait of Hormuz, through which nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes, has become the focal point of the ongoing confrontation between Iran and the U.S., despite diplomatic engagement taking place in the background to find a complete solution to end the hostilities in West Asia. This comes amid an announcement by the United States Central Command on Wednesday that a comprehensive blockade of Iran's ports has been successfully implemented, with U.S. forces asserting maritime dominance across key regional waterways, including the Strait of Hormuz. In a statement, CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper said that within 36 hours of the operation's launch, U.S. forces had effectively halted all maritime trade entering and leaving Iran. Zelensky pursues more arms deals with allies to defend against Russia. April 16, 2026, outlines a strategic shift in President Volodymyr Zelensky's diplomatic mission as he works to transition Ukraine from a recipient of military aid to a centralized hub for international defense manufacturing. Faced with a protracted conflict against Russia and the potential for Western fatigue, Zelensky is prioritizing long-term industrial partnerships over short-term deliveries. This joint production model aims to embed Western defense contractors directly into the Ukrainian economy, ensuring a sustainable flow of high-tech weaponry like drones and artillery while simultaneously modernizing Ukraine's sovereign military capacity. A significant driver of this urgency is the changing global geopolitical landscape, particularly the escalating conflict between the United States and Iran. Zelensky's administration is keenly aware that as American and European resources are increasingly diverted toward the Middle East and the defense of maritime routes in the Strait of Hormuz, Ukraine must secure its own industrial guarantees to avoid being sidelined. By securing commitments for the domestic manufacture of advanced air defense systems and hypersonic missile interceptors, Zelensky is attempting to lock in Western support through multi-year commercial and security contracts that are less susceptible to immediate political shifts in allied capitals. Trump slams Italian PM Meloni over lack of support for war with Iran. The conflict is centered on the 2026 U.S.-Iran war. According to the report, President Trump lashed out at Meloni via social media and official statements, labeling her shocking and unacceptable for her refusal to provide Italian military support for the ongoing conflict. This rift is particularly notable because Meloni had been one of Trump's most reliable European allies. However, her alignment with Pope Leo XIV's calls for peace and her concern over Mediterranean stability have placed her at odds with Washington's current military strategy. The tension highlighted in the article reflects a broader struggle between the U.S. administration and European leaders who are wary of a full-scale regional war in the Middle East. Trump's slamming of Meloni is not just a personal grievance, but a tactical move to pressure NATO allies into joining the naval blockade and military operations in the Persian Gulf. By publicly criticizing a key European leader, the U.S. is signaling that neutrality or moral alignment with the Vatican will be treated as a betrayal of U.S. security interests. How is India managing LPG supply amid the West Asia crisis? India's management of the crisis as a masterclass in energy resilience. By combining aggressive source diversification with domestic price shielding and sophisticated shuttle diplomacy, New Delhi is attempting to insulate its 1.4 billion citizens from the hyperinflation and supply chain collapses currently affecting other major energy importers. India is leveraging its strategic autonomy, maintaining a working relationship with the Trump administration while utilizing its historical ties with Iran to ensure that Indian-flagged vessels are granted safe passage or are at least not targeted in the escalating maritime skirmishes. To maintain supply, Indian tankers are bypassing the Gulf of Oman and instead docking at ports outside the immediate conflict zone, with cargo being transshipped via overland or alternative maritime routes. This has increased logistics costs, which the government is reportedly absorbing through subsidies to prevent a price hike for domestic consumers. India's strategic response to the energy crisis triggered by the 2026 U.S. withdrawal. Iran war, with the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most vital oil and gas choke point, effectively restricted by naval blockades and military tension. The report focuses on how India is preventing a domestic fuel shortage, specifically regarding liquefied petroleum gas.
If you value real, balanced reporting from across the globe, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss the stories that matter. Stay informed, stay aware, stay ahead. We'll see you in the next update, only on Zenith Global News.